Champ Thornton is an acquisitions editor at Crossway and the author of a number of books for kids and families. And he started digging deep into the roots of the Christian faith with his 2018 award-winning book, The Radical Book for Kids, actually a former Wednesday bookmark. And this new edition offers 8 to 14-year-olds more Bible exploration, more history, and more faith application. It's the really radical book for kids. Welcome back, Champ.
Kara, it is great to be back with you. Thanks for having me on today.
This book was so much fun. There are more than 40 chapters of fun content, more than 200 pages of full color illustrations. There's maps, there's engaging graphics. There's a lot to explore. This is the kind of book that I would have loved to have if I was a Christian when I was young. And I think radical is the right word for sure. What do you think it means for this young generation to see God and the Bible as radical?
Yeah, so the word radical comes from the Latin word radix, which means roots. And so there's a bit of a pun here, a play on words, right? So radical can mean back in the day, like cool and awesome. And also it can mean it takes us back to the roots of our faith. And we not only want to go back and see, what if Christians always believed? What's the Bible say? That's the real roots of our faith there, who God is and what he has said. But then also those deep roots allow us to withstand some of the strongest storms in our life. And we get to also learn about how men and women through church history have had those deep roots and have stood for Jesus even in difficult times. And we are in a difficult time today as Christians. And so I hope that this book not only paints some of the amazing grace of Jesus to withstand difficult times, but also to do it with a smile on our face because he is such a good God and an amazing creator.
Yeah. Well, and actually you touched on this, so I'm going to dive right into this question. But what do you think is challenged most within Christianity right now that you aimed to defend with this book?
Yeah, so I think it's so easy today just to kind of have one side of the truth. So our family, we play a game from time to time at dinner. We call it 3 things, right? And basically everybody tells 3 things that supposedly happened during the day. And one of them actually happened and 2 did not. So we don't say it's a lie because we don't want to encourage our children to lie.
I love this twist, yeah.
You can just make it up, right? It's a pretend. And so, and then we all have to figure out like, okay, which of the 3 things actually happen? We all kind of vote and we find out who's right. And for me, my part, I'm terrible at this, so I can't even look at anybody. I have a terrible poker face, and my family still picks it out every time. They know exactly what, I never get them on this. But one of the chapters in this book focuses on things that the culture today tells us. I mean, you watch any Disney movie, you watch any Nickelodeon show, and it's going to have like these truths come through again and again and again. Believe in yourself, you can do it. There's nothing I can't accomplish if I set my mind to it. What's wrong with love? It's just love. I'm just being me. Be true to yourself. All these statements. And the reality is there is truth in there, right? So it's one of the things in this is true. We should be authentic people. But there's things that have been left out, right? Things that are not being said. What's true is if I'm true to my heart, there's a sense which we need to be genuine people, but really my heart is deceptive and corrupted because I'm connected with Adam. I'm descended from sinners and I'm a sinner myself. And so when we only have like half the truth, it sounds good, but it really isn't the whole picture. So one of the chapters in this book just goes through and talks about what are about 10 or 12 of these half-truths and what's the whole truth.
Yeah. Oh, so good. With everything that you've researched in this book, is there something specifically that deepened or solidified your faith the most?
I love biography. I love learning about men and women from church history. And so there's individuals here that I was aware of and some that I wasn't aware of. And I got to study them and like explore their lives. And it's just so neat to see how the gospel bears fruit in different eras and different geographies around the world. So in this book, we look at 4 main characters. We look at Erica Little, the Olympic runner and missionary, Hannah More, who worked to defeat slavery in the British Empire, Pandita Ramabai, who was an amazing Christian in India and worked for social change there as well as spreading the gospel. And then also Lemuel Haynes, who was the first ordained African American in the colonies here in the became United States of America. And so their lives, they're not perfect, but they set an amazing example that we can learn from.
How did you even come up with some of these illustrations? I mean, the imagery used to explain everything from Paul's letter to the Romans to the Bible in 3D, Proverbs as a base for wisdom. I mean, there's so many, parallels and visuals and illustrations. Did you have a lot of help with this? Was the illustrator in charge of some of this? Like, where did this come from?
So I am so indebted to the illustrator, Scott McDonald. He's amazing. Takes the ideas that we give him and just like makes them look incredible. And I love that. So I'm glad his name is on the cover, and he deserves all of the credit for the design and the design team at New Growth Press. But I'm kind of a simple guy. And if I want to have something clear in my head, sometimes I just have to have like a visual hook to say like, this is how that works.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, like you just mentioned, different visual things like the Book of Romans. Well, it really is like you have two different teams or one team and they're not getting along. That is a lot of what's going on in the Book of Romans. And Paul, there's more, but like Paul is addressing these two divisions in the church. And what applies there is the gospel. And so I think when I can boil it down and it's simple for me, where it's portable and I can remember it, then I think, okay, well, we could pass that along to somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's very kid friendly, but also, again, like adult friendly. I got a lot out of it. My 3-year-old and I actually yesterday made the paper airplane from the book. Do you have a favorite section?
Oh, a favorite section. That's kind of hard to choose, but the paper airplane, it not only is fun to talk about because it's so counterintuitive. It doesn't have wings. It's like a circle. It's a ring. But it also has good memories for me. When I was in, I think, middle school, maybe around 6th grade, I won a paper airplane contest, and I think it threw almost the whole length of a school gymnasium. One of my prouder moments, probably my only accomplishment in a gymnasium, if you know what I mean. But that's a fun section.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that there's more to explore? Do you think that there's a need for a really, really radical book in the future?
That is a great question. You about gave me a heart attack, I have to admit, because in many ways, like as a dad and as a pastor and as an author, a Bible student over the years, you learn things you want to pass on to your own kids and fun things as well. Like, hey, did you know about it? My kids are like, yeah, you told us. But so it's sort of like these two books, the radical book for kids and then the really radical book for kids. These have sort of been the junk drawer of my mind in many ways. And I feel like I've kind of turned that over and shook most of it out. So there are a few chapters that didn't make it into the book that will probably appear as articles online here and there. And but after that, I really make no promises. So I hope they enjoy the 2 books that are there, and someone else can write the 3rd one. Yeah.
Well, you have more books in your repertoire, so there's other things you can do. You, like you said, you put a lot into these, and I appreciate them. It's for ages 8 and up. I'm saying up because I think, again, adults, just if you like that kind of visual learning, it's so good for that. It was designed, again, for children and younger teens, but all ages. It can be used for family devotions. It can be supplemented for Sunday school teachers, homeschooling parents. Champ Thornton, thank you so much for your time again, Champ.
Kara, it has been great to be with you again. Thanks for having me on your show.